are both really excited about it.
That's the first step there. Acknowledging that you are excited and you might be acting on that excitement. That is one of the first steps to controlling yourself, because if you do not realize that, a lot of the time people can convince themselves that it's love right in the beginning, and a lot of people who say they've been hurt by love is simply because they consider the first stage as love, because everything is good and they're excited, their heads are in the cloud, so they feel like it's love. And what they don't realize is that love really show up towards the end of, after the honeymoon stages. But the first step is definitely acknowledging that. In terms of how do you control yourself, or how do you keep yourself from diving into that relationship, again, it's setting those boundaries, those self boundaries of saying, okay, maybe I'm not going to be fully invested unless they're past this threshold per se. By threshold, let's say, we go on a certain amount of dates. Let me get to know you first before I jump in a relationship. Because that used to be somewhat of a thing, but I think people skip that more than ever, because they're like, okay, we're engaging in conversation. We're on the same page. I like you, and let's just jump into another relationship. And a lot of people jump too fast into that relationship because they go over the different checklists that they should. Now, I'm not saying live by checklists, but I'm saying first, make sure you get to know each other. Then when you get to know each other, make sure you get a chance to build a friendship. Because if you do not build a friendship, a good relationship need that foundation. A relationship that can evolve and grow need of true friendship, and that has to be built, because once you start acting like lovers, you can become best friend, but the true foundation of the relationship have to come from that beginning. Then you get into the dating phase. So there's certain steps before you get into the dating phase. And when you start getting into the dating phase, do not rush too quickly about, moving in. Me, I waited till I got married for anything, because that's just what I practice and my belief, and the route that me and my wife chose. But some people are doing that. Be slow to do that. Be slow to get engaged. Be slow to get married. And I'm saying this as someone who got married within the first year. But for me, I made sure I went through those checklists. First, I started talking to my wife. And by talking to my wife, I got to know her. Then we started to build a friendship. And through that friendship, we realized, we talk about a lot of the deep things. And that's another thing I'm a big advocate about, is you actually, once you get to the friendship stage and you're ready for a relationship, you should start airing out some dirty laundry so the person get an idea of who you truly are, so then they can make the decision of dating you knowing who you truly are. Because we sometimes hide our identity or hide the worst thing about us once we're talking to someone and want them to love us, and then we air out everything. And sometimes there's certain things you should mention before you get in a relationship, so the person know who they're really getting in a relationship with. Because if they can't love you through despite what you tell them, then chances are, then when you tell them that later in the relationship, that's not gonna keep them there. They're not still gonna love you. It's gonna be that they're gonna have react probably the same way, except this time they'll be inside of a relationship and they probably will feel a little bit disappointed. But my wife and I, we aired out, the important dirty laundry that we should discuss prior to a relationship. Then from there, we had a relationship, and from there, we kept growing to building our friendship more and learning each other more and learning to communicate more effectively about the things we disagree with, the things we agree with, and most importantly, the things we disagree with. And from there, I got to a point where I believe, okay, we can be engaged, and I believe I can spend the rest of my life with you. Not on the fact that I was high in the clouds in my head, but because of the fact that I saw the type of person she is. She became my best friend, and we went through those process. So really, it's all about controlling yourself. It's all about, having, maybe threshold may not be the best term for it, but having those different checkpoints that you have, and again, I'm not telling anyone to be, in a sense, to operate like a robot and really, you know, there are things that are in the moment to say, no, I haven't passed this threshold or that threshold, but being mindful, because the person who asked this question, they were mindful that, like, look, the excitement might be why I'm jumping into this. I want to slow myself down and go through the phases first before I get to this. So definitely control yourself. Definitely, you know, put those boundaries, and definitely move at a certain pace with different checkpoints until you get to where you're at. And it protects your heart. It protects you, your heart, and their heart. Because sometimes if people really got to know each other and really try to build a friendship, you know, a lot of the times the people who aren't meant for each other, they realize, like, look, there's a disconnect. The stuff we disagree on are too vast, you know. That's something we can build upon, let's say. So then you take away the problems right at the beginning. So, hey, one more thing. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. And also, don't forget to hit that notification button. And last thing, comment below. I do want to hear your question, and maybe it's the next one I answer on here. Until next time.